Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's edition of SIG Node. It is March 1st, 2022. We have almost nothing on the agenda today, but we do have PRs and some quick announcements before we open the floor. So, Sergey, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, we're doing relatively good on PRs. We grew a little bit, but generally keep the level the same. So good job, everybody. Please keep reviewing and approving PRs.
Awesome. And then for my side on announcements, I just sent out a reminder to the mailing list as well. But as far as the deadline goes, that's coming up. That is this Friday, March 4th. We expect that anything that is either a beta graduation or a deprecation will be done by that time. If it is an alpha or a GA feature, we expect that there will be a reviewable PR. So there has to be like a PR that's open, that's hopefully not work in progress, that people can take a look at and give feedback on. So I sent out a message to the mailing list. I included a list of all of the PRs in each category based on what was in the enhancement spreadsheet. And so that will, if you are one of the affected authors on that list and you have, say, like something coming up for this Friday and it's not there, we'll reevaluate at next meeting if we want to remove stuff from the milestone. So I think that's all on that. There were quite a lot of things that I think were due for this Friday, and I don't know that a lot of them are necessarily close. So did anybody have anything they wanted to add or concerns or discussion around that? Sounds like no. So it's happening this Friday. We'll reevaluate next week. Just wanted to make sure that folks are aware of it. And then I think the floor is open unless somebody snuck something on the agenda.
There's a few things in the agenda now.
Okay, let me take a quick look.
One is the out of CPU.
Yeah, okay, can we, I just want to switch, we can do the easy topics first, I guess. So I know I was supposed to help get an annual report out last week, but as I said earlier, I was not healthy. But I would like to work on it, if not this week, but get it done by next. Is there anyone who wants to help maybe start authoring that? I feel really bad that I was not well, but I would love help if anyone wants to help write that annual report.
I should have some time this week.
Okay. Well, thank you, Danielle, and I'll ping you on Slack. And I know I said I was going to get a draft up, but I was not able to. Yeah, I know we need to get that done. And then the other thing was the main thing I wanted to just note on the in-place resizing PR. It is big, and thank you for all those who looked at it previously as well. I deferred anything when I was looking at that cgroups v2 aware, but I think we need to work out how memory clause will work with it. So I don't know if Vinay was here, if I forget the gentleman who authored the memory clause PR, but if they could take a look at that afterwards, that'd be helpful. And that was about it.
Derek, we talk about all those things, and so the big change actually it is just because API changed, but the logic is quite the same. So any
there's stuff in the kubelet code when I was going through it that seemed like it could be off. Like it's only when it's polling for container resources, it's only getting the request and limit, but not getting min or high, which is set when V2 is on. And it's using checkpoint state in a way that I need to understand a little bit better because I ran out of time. But there were some other odds and ends. The other major thing was, I think I said before, quota isn't working right with it. So anyway, I know Vinay has worked a lot on this, and so I just kept iteratively adding more as it's here, but hopefully he can respond.
Okay. The reason I raise this concern it is because it's kind of like the been going on for the almost 4 years. Every time.
No, I know, but that doesn't work in parts, Don. So like the eviction code, that I saw Alana had updates on that. Like that needs to be updated to actually look at allocated and not requests. And so that I'm trying to find the minimal set that we can merge it, but I don't think it's quite there just yet. And I don't think it's an error on Vinay's part. He just needs some help, and we're going to try to help him. But I'm not trying to delay it. I'm really trying to make an active effort here.
Okay, thanks. I just want to say, because this is, let me finish this one. So I feel like because it's not aligned. So every time we go through that one, then there's the new comment. So then
Yeah,
organization
it doesn't work, Don. I can't, there's parts that don't work, so we need it to work.
I just try to while the developers had. I totally understand where you came from, because I also give the new requirement, other things, but I just try to this time to represent the community contributor. It's like because it's been delayed so long. So every time the people change and there's the new feature, so they have to make sure there's the new feature and align all those kind of things. So
I understand. I would just take a look. I'm trying to be very reasonable, Vinay. And Vinay, hopefully, if you see this, you can see I'm trying to be reasonable in my comments. So there are just some areas that are not working when I look at it, or maybe I could convince otherwise, but they're relatively minor, and it's like 3 or 4 things that so far I found that we need to do just so that it works.
I haven't looked at the latest one for a while, because I think about the 1.5 years ago, after I provided all those feedback and the addressed, so I just let it go. But I will take another look. But I just want to take this chance to represent the community contributor. This is why it's so hard for the big features. Sorry, it's not really, I just want to take this chance. Sorry, it's not really for your comment. Yeah.
That is part of the problem with trying to land large features in a single PR.
I know, yeah. The problem is, I believe in the past also split into multiple pieces, and then people also comment they couldn't see the whole picture. So then end up to combine together. It's just too hard. So this is kind of like I think this is the real problem. What we have, the community, not just for this particular PR. This particular PR is just fall into that one. I just try to represent because I heard this.
I think it's understood, Don. I think, well, the key thing is I looked at twice. Thank you to everyone who's looked at it previously. I think because it's so big, it's taking time for everyone to find issues. I do think there are a few issues I found that don't make me comfortable to merge it just yet, because it could have unintended side effects. But overall, this is a big effort, and I'm trying as fast as possible to help unblock Vinay.
Awesome. Anything else on that one? Sounds like no. Let's keep things moving, because we got a few more things added to the agenda. I think that the issue linked next is probably going to be a long open discussion. So maybe let's jump to the class resources kept first. Class-based resources. Marcus, do you want to go ahead and present?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for the floor. So this is a KEP that I mentioned in SIG Node last autumn. It was in kind of draft state, and I got some good comments that, and it was sort of hibernated for a while, but now I came back to it and removed it from the draft state, and was like try to find ways to get feedback for the KEP. So should we go like shortly through the KEP, or
maybe could you just give a summary for those who aren't familiar with
sure.
like, what the purpose is, what the scope is, and that kind of thing?
Yeah, so It all started with Intel RDT technology, which is basically a kind of class-based technology for doing cache allocation and memory bandwidth allocation. And AMD and ARM has similar technologies that are controlled through the same kernel interface as well. And it started with that, and then RDT is supported in OCI runtime spec, and now it's also supported by the runtimes. And we wanted to get this RDT supported in Kubernetes as well. And in addition to the RDT, we have also implemented a similar sort of class-based method for controlling block IO C groups, or configuring a block IO C group controller. So the idea behind this would be a kind of generic method for assigning containers to different sort of class-based resources, and these class-based resources could be thought of as analogous to, for example, the pod QoS class. So fixed set of classes and the container or the pod can be assigned to one class. So for example, in this RDT case, we would have like sort of let's say gold, silver, bronze classes, and gold will get most of the cache lines exclusively, and then silver and bronze would share the other remaining cache lines. And sort of QoS resources. I don't know if the name class or class-based resource is the best one to describe it, but sort of QoS resources.
Yeah, so just a quick question for you. Typically, we ask that people have like a discussion link or have brought this up in a SIG or that kind of thing before we consider the enhancement. And I don't see like discussion link. It looks like we've just kind of gone straight to a draft proposal for this one. So thank you so much for sort of bringing this to the SIG's attention. But we haven't seen like, a presentation or something like that. Are there other folks that are interested in this or interested in contributing, that kind of thing? Because we typically would ask that, we show that like other folks also want this feature before we can go and consider it for inclusion in the upcoming cycle.
Sure. I can open a Slack discussion on that or email thread. There are like
email would probably be better.
Yeah, sure. Okay, I'll do that, and I can come up with a presentation as well if that's kind of desired to describe it.
Awesome. Yeah, I think just making sure that the folks who would be interested in this are aware that this is being proposed and getting their feedback and ensuring that we have lots of interest in this before we can consider it as a SIG. This is kind of a smaller group than we would normally have in a full SIG meeting because we didn't coming into this meeting we didn't actually have an agenda. So really appreciate you bringing your ideas to the SIG, and I think follow up with like a mailing list thread or some other form of public discussion to sort of gauge interest and get feedback would be awesome.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, I'll do that. Yeah.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving on, the next thing in the agenda from Wenwu449 is this static pod out of CPU issue. Does anybody want to? Do we have?
Yeah, I'm Wenwu449 Wenjun.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, I'm a new member to the community, so still learning, but I'm
welcome.
very interested in this topic and want to bring to the group's awareness and have a few discussion on next step on it. So following that, I learned basically in 1.22 when we're trying to fix another bug, we changed a little bit on how we do local admission. Before that, or even today, the kubelet and the scheduler are basically syncing on pod face to determine if a pod is terminated and implicate that the resource on that pod is freed up. So scheduler can use that free resource to run other newer pod. With that fix in 1.22, it seems we continue to use the same logic to update pod face, but when we do local admission, we do some extra check. So even a pod in succeeded or failed state will still be calculated as its resource is still used. So new pod will be rejected because short of resource, such as out of CPU. This is basically my understanding. Please correct me if anyone know this is better or there are more information. So with this, I think in the community in last few days, I see David, Bobby Page, and Clayton and Jordan are discussing that on Slack to figure out what is the proper way to move to basically reduce the impact of that behavior change and make a minimum risk fixes back to the kubelet as a hot fix. It looks like now Clayton have put up a fix which a little bit large and also depending on another PR that has been reviewed for a month. Is this want to hear that? What is our group's suggestion on the next step on it?
So I just looked at Clayton's other PR and it makes sense to me. If anyone else wants to take a quick look, we can get that merged and unblock the main PR. So I put in chat.
Oh, thanks, Mrinal. I was going to ask, we don't have Clayton, but we do have David Porter. David, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, so like I've been working with Clayton on this. Yeah, so like I mean, I think when June summarized it very well, the main thing is this is something to do with local kind of local pod admission, where basically kubelet today it sends the phase update to the status manager too early. And in certain cases, basically when we have something like a job or something like that, where there's lots of pods getting scheduled to the node and terminating very quickly, and basically there's like a lot of churn on the node, what can happen is we can get a race basically where a pod can be terminating and a new pod can be scheduled. And since there's a race right now where the phase to the status manager is sent before the pod is fully terminated, there can be a race where then during a local pod admission, a pod can be rejected because it doesn't have enough resources. And so yeah, it gets rejected ultimately. So basically, like there's a few different changes that we were thinking about, and I think the lowest risk change is to basically delay the status update until the pod is actually fully terminal. That's kind of the change that Clayton's proposing. And I think that makes sense, except like there's a few complexities with that around having to refactor some of the sync pod stuff, and there's a few other changes that need to be made. It's not as simple as simply delaying the status update. So I think whatever change we need to do, like if that's the option we want to go with, actually delaying the status update, it will require like a few refactoring changes as Clayton proposed. So I think I put up a regression ET test for this. I think this is like a second issue we have where we have an issue with local pod admission, and I don't think we have super good test coverage there. So I think that's the other thing we need to think about improving is how we catch this in the future. So
We have various areas where the test coverage could definitely be better. Yes, Danielle is nodding. So,
yeah.
I would be happy to take any volunteers who want to add more test coverage.
For sure.
I temporarily hold this one. I saw that someone already approval and it looks good because I think we need a little bit more review this one, at least for test results, right? So do we think about we want to merge this one? Because I noticed that it is pretty small change, but actually the impact is critical in the critical path. So do we want to just merge and need to test the result to tell us, or it is just we want to more discussing and offline get more test results?
I assume that I think it would be reasonable, like offline out of band to increase test coverage. Renal, I think you've looked at this PR the most recently.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So this is so Don. So the real fix is in a different PR, and Clayton needs this one, and then we can add the test in the second PR. So I think the one that we just looked at is relatively lower risk to get in to unblock the other one. Yeah.
Okay. So Manu, I will need you to management those or organize all those kind of things. I just temporarily hold this one because I think we may want to, but I agree. So maybe you want to leave this is in first, so then we can add the test and more test things in the separate one, which is much bigger one, right?
Yep.
Okay. Thanks.
A quick question for David. David, does your end-to-end succeed on Clayton's patch, or the bigger patch?
Yep.
Okay. I was just
yeah. So I have a so as part of kind of debugging this, I put together an ETE to demonstrate this issue. So I think it's part of Clayton's PR. The second PR to actually fix the issue. Maybe we can cherry pick that as part of that PR, maybe have it separate, but it does demonstrate the issue and it is able to repro it. So we can probably add that test and use it as a signal that the test will, that the fix will actually fix the issue.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Cool.
Saran, sorry for temporary hold because I saw that we are still discussing. So yeah.
That's okay.
Okay, anything else on that one?
Thank you, everyone. It's a really great discussion.
Awesome. I think we are out of agenda items. I think that's it. But before we adjourn, I just had one quick question. Somebody who was participating in the meeting today asked me to turn on the live transcript from Zoom. So those are auto-generated captions. I just wanted to get sort of a feeling check. Were those helpful today? Did people appreciate those? Were they useful? +1 in the chat or -1 is useful too. Awesome. Got a few +1s. Okay, well, we'll consider continuing to do that in the future. Glad that those were helpful to folks. Okay, I think that's all that we have for today. So it's great seeing you all, and I'll see you again next week. Cheers, everyone.